Oh, how are we doing? It's Friday on 67 Hail Hail, and we're going to talk about Celtic today. How about that? Plenty to get our teeth into. I feel like I say that every single video at the moment. Tomorrow, our Scottish Cup campaign begins. We are facing Greenock Morton at Celtic Park. We'll talk about that game. We'll get Ange comments. We'll do predicted 11. We'll even have a wee natter about Morton. But before all that, we have transfer news to discuss. Oh, and if you've not already got who I'm talking about and why I keep saying, oh, then take a long, hard look at yourself. We are, of course, talking about Hyeon-gyu, the South Korean forward, not that South Korean forward, but another South Korean forward who it seems very much like is going to be joining Celtic very soon. Multiple sources, including Sky Sports, are now saying that we are close to a deal with Suwon Blue Wings for the forward. Sky understand that he is keen on a move to Celtic. There's even been a medical mentioned already, and I feel like when you start mentioning medicals, it kind of suggests that the deal is close. And certainly from what I've been hearing and various other people have been hearing and all of this reporting, I would say that it's pretty likely that we're going to sign Hyeon-gyu over the next couple of days. We'll hear what Ange had to say about it a wee bit later on when we do the Ange segment. But yeah, it's good to kind of seemingly have our man. Obviously, we had the whole Cho Gi-sung thing going on for weeks and weeks. Kind of turned into a little bit of a saga. Will he, won't he? The answer in the end was, of course, the latter. But for all those people who were a bit worried about Ange not having a plan amid all of the chat about Giakoumakis leaving as well, it seems very much like Celtic have quickly moved on to the next target. And, you know, obviously we're going to find out a lot more about over the next wee while, and certainly even before he kicks a ball for Celtic, we're going to do a deep dive into him if he does indeed sign. Having a wee look at his YouTube, he seems to be a good fit for the way we play football. That's kind of stating the obvious. We wouldn't be interested in him. Ange wouldn't be interested in him if he didn't fit the way we like to play football. But he kind of seems to have a bit of everything. Looking at his customary YouTube compilation, it shows him getting stuck into tackles, winning the ball back, stretching defences, finishing clinically, and even setting up teammates. So a bit of everything, I think, as I say. And I think a different player to Cho as well. And I think even more importantly, a different player to Kyogo, but with some of the same attributes as well. And I don't know if it's just because it's Friday and the sun's shining for the first time in about 2 years where I live in Scotland, but I'm feeling quite confident and positive about the signing. I know some people are looking at his scoring record in South Korea. I think it's maybe like 1-4, something like that. And our, alarm bells are ringing or whatever. But I just have so much faith right now in the recruitment team headed by Ange, and identifying players that will suit our way of playing, will suit Celtic Football Club. No idea why I said the full thing there. Will suit Celtic. And also the environment that he's coming into. I think that's the really important bit. We have an environment at the club, however it's been created through Ange, Callum McGregor, etc., where new signings come in and seem to kind of make an impact relatively quickly. Alistair Johnston was speaking about it in his press conference today, the fact that it's been really easy for him coming into Celtic. He said it's been, a really smooth transition, and I think that's a great place to be. Now, I realise a player who speaks English and coming from, Canada is a bit different to signing a player from South Korea, but I think it's all about the environment we create. So, I don't know what the general reaction is amongst you all to the potential signing of Hyeon-gyu, but I just feel really calm about it for all the reasons that I've just outlined. I just think that, a recruitment process, the environment he's coming into, and I think he's the kind of player who can make an impact pretty quickly for Celtic, as so many of Ange's signings have done. This is a deal that I think I would expect to be wrapped up relatively soon. It seems pretty close. So keep an eye out for information over the next few days. We will, of course, do a deep dive on Hyeon-gyu if the deal is indeed confirmed, and try and find out a lot more about him. because I'll be honest, I don't know a great deal, but I've somehow managed to rabbit on for over 5 minutes there about him, so I guess that's a skill in itself. Just another wee bit of transfer news that doesn't concern Celtic currently in any way at all. Fleetwood Town have today announced the signing of Scott Robertson, so Scott Robertson joining up with Scott Brown, of course, and they posted this image as well on social media. So I just thought that was a nice wee story just to stick in the wee transfer bit. Returning to Celtic matters, don't really want to chat about Wednesday night too much. I felt me and John did an adequate job of discussing the games and all the positives to take from the game. One thing I did just want to show you, and there's a fair chance you'll already have seen it if you were on 67hailhail.com yesterday, or for whatever reason my Twitter feed, is this. So yes, we have played 22 matches now this season. That's 2 full rounds of fixtures. Every single team we've played both home and away, and all of the green that you see there, all of the score lines with the green surrounding them, are victories for Celtic. The one wee yellow thing is a draw, and right at the end there, kind of bottom right of the screen, is that red, the defeat to St Mirren. The only real blip out of all of those games, I mean, a draw at Ibrox is a good result, is that loss to St Mirren. But just look at the goal difference that Celtic have against every other team in the league so far this season. And I mean, the best out of all of them there are St Mirren and Motherwell, who are only 2 goals behind us in matches against us. Just look at the other ones. I mean, we're 11 goals up on Dundee United in 2 games. Obviously, that's courtesy of that 9-0 win we had at Tannadice. And Hibs as well, 9 goals up in Hibs in 2 matches. Kelly were 7 goals up in 2 matches. So incredible form so far this season. And just briefly, actually, here's the 11 fixtures we've got coming up before the split. Obviously, another round of fixtures, play every team one more time before the split. And 6 of the 11 matches are at home. And it kind of interesting the way it's worked out that you've got most of the kind of tougher teams in the league at Celtic Park over the next 11 games. So obviously Rangers, Aberdeen, Hibs, and Hearts at the bottom of that game still to be arranged. I mean, tough away games in there as well. Tannadice, I think, in a week's time will be tougher than it was earlier in the season, I would certainly expect. And, the likes of St Mirren, where we've already lost this season. But I think, a real decent run of games there for us. It's certainly much easier than the other way around, where we had to go Easter Road, Pittodrie, Ibrox and Tynecastle a few months before the World Cup. And let's face it, if we continue the form from so far in the season, if we win 9 or 10 of those matches, the league is probably going to be either officially over or as good as over going into the split. So it's a great position we're in, and I just wanted to let you know that, because it just occurred to me right after the St Mirren game, 22 matches played. It's a good point to just kind of stop for a second. But we are stopping talking about the league, actually, because we're focusing on the Scottish Cup this weekend. Our Scottish Cup journey begins tomorrow, now a matter of hours actually, against Greenock Morton at Celtic Park. They're currently mid-table in the Championship under Dougie Imrie, who scored that infamous penalty in a League Cup tie in 2013 when we lost to Morton at Celtic Park. You've probably seen plenty of mentions of that over the last few days, maybe not as many of the games we've played against Morton actually in this competition since. Funny that. It's strange actually, because we've played Morton twice in the Scottish Cup at Celtic Park in recent years. Won both 3-0. One in March 2016 under Ronnie Dyler, and one in March 2018 under Brendan Rodgers. Both matches were at the quarter-final stage, so a few rounds later than this. And a couple of players who may actually have been on our books for those matches actually play for Morton now. Effie Ambrose, who I kind of feel like Effie Ambrose coming back to Celtic Park would be quite an interesting event, but he's come back to Celtic Park as like a Hibs player, as a Livy player. Did he have a spell at St Johnstone as well? I seem to remember. He's like he just seems to be like playing for all these teams. I mean, Morton, he just got the bug for Scottish football, didn't he? Well, he's coming back tomorrow, and so is Calvin Miller as well, and I would expect both to start. So that'll be kind of interesting to an extent. And also will be 2,000 odd Morton fans who have bought tickets for the game. Really impressive away support, actually. I know it's a cup tie, I know it's not a million miles away, Greenock, but that's mightily impressive, and certainly more than a lot of Premiership teams have brought to Celtic Park over the last few seasons. Even in Europe, we've not really had big supports. I mean, who can forget that paltry Real Madrid support from earlier on in the season? Still can't get over possibly the biggest club in the world having that many fans. We have had some decent supports over the last few seasons, after COVID. Wraith Rovers last season were pretty good. Blackburn Rovers in pre-season, I think, had about 1,500. Even Bodo Glimt in the Conference League about a year ago had a pretty healthy number. But tomorrow's Morton support will be the biggest in a good few years, I reckon, having looked back at all these fixtures, and I'm quite good at remembering things like this. We're looking at November 2019, the last time that a team brought more fans than we'll see at Celtic Park tomorrow. Rennes were the opposition, and they brought around 2,500. So I don't know if that matters to you at all. I always think it's nice to have a big away support because it creates a bit of atmosphere. So it should at least make it a wee bit more interesting tomorrow. In terms of Ange press comments, we've actually been sent the audio by Celtic, so we'll play that for you now. And after that, actually, you'll hear from Alistair Johnston as well.
The usual question, where are we with transfers? Is there anyone imminently coming into the club?
At the moment, progress on incomings and outgoings, but nothing confirmed yet. So we're obviously getting to the tail end of the window, and I expect progress over the next few days.
In terms of Georges, do you see him still being a Celtic player at the end of January?
As I said, I until I hear otherwise, I expect them all to be Celtic players. But there's been progress, with all those kind of issues, and I guess over the next few days we'll see how it all plays out. In terms of from Wednesday night, Cameron Carter-Vickers has improved, but we'll leave him out tomorrow. Giacomarcus trained today, so we'll just see how he pulls up from training, and Anthony Rolson had a bit of a setback, just the training yesterday, so he'll miss tomorrow. And I think that's it. Benjamin Siegrist has missed the last 2-3 weeks with a bit of a calf complaint, but he was back in training today. But again, too early for tomorrow. But everyone else from Wednesday night is okay.
Tomoki Iwata was included in the squad for the first time on Wednesday. Are we expected to see a bit more of him tomorrow?
We'll see. He's still sort of working his way towards fitness, it's fair to say, and he hasn't played for quite a while, but he's training well, and he'll be involved again tomorrow. He'll be in the squad, and we'll see how the game goes, whether we get him some game time. But there's no great rush for him. Obviously, Yuki Kobayashi got his first run, but he's been training with us for a good month now, and Alistair Johnston, obviously, played a bit earlier, but again, he'd played in the World Cup, so he'd had some match fitness. So I guess with our new guys, we've just tried to, stagger it so we give them an opportunity to play when they're in the best possible condition. And not putting aside the fact that they haven't played, competitive football for a while, and that was the case with Yuki on Wednesday night, and it'll be the same with Tomoki. It's just about making sure that he's ready for what's ahead of him.
It's been a pretty simple transition, honestly. The staff's been great. The whole group has just been really welcoming. Everyone up here at Lennox Town's been, just really just nice people, and it reminds me of home a little bit. The Scottish aren't too far off from the Canadians, so there's a lot of hospitality in terms of that. So it's been really, really nice like that. The competition's been great for spots, so I just really enjoyed it. And of course, playing in front of 60,000 at Parkhead has definitely helped as well. So no, we've really just enjoyed these first couple weeks, and now I've been here just over a month now, but only been able to play matches for the past couple of weeks. So no, it's been just a nice progression through this first little bit. Obviously, before I came, I'd watched it a little bit, and I understood the inverted fullback. It's something that I've discussed this before, is that not a lot of teams do it. Arguably only really Celtic. You could say City have done it to a degree as well. You'll see them do it quite often. Arsenal now a little bit sometimes with Zinchenko. So yeah, it's kind of it's a nuanced thing that you don't often see in the world of football. So for me, that was a really interesting opportunity and something that I looked at like, okay, that'll be a bit of a change from your typical fullback role. But that is what the modern fullback is these days. There's so many different intricacies to it and in positions that you need to pick up. So obviously that was something that intrigued me, but at the same time I knew it was going to be a challenge as well. But the coaching staff's been great. They've pointed out moments where they want me to tuck in, but also at the same time is they say, don't overcomplicate it. Take what the opposition is giving you. If the space is out wide, take the space out wide. And that's what they've been really good at, is they understand that there is a system that they want to implement, but they also understand that, especially not just for new players, but for any player, it takes time to break down the mold that you've learned, because I'm 24 years old. I've only been playing fullback for a couple years, but for even guys who are 30 years old and been playing fullback for all that time, is that you need to break down all those walls of playing that position a certain way for so long to be able to see it a different way. You need to go through that subconscious kind of decisions. And so they understand that as well. They understand that it's not just a flip of the switch. So that's where they've been good at, is that, look, they point out things where they think, yeah, you could tuck in here, but at the same time as they go, do what feels natural. They don't want you overthinking it out there, because once you start overthinking things, that's when, the game becomes a little too quick and it gets out of hand. So they've been really good with that. And, I'm just trying to chip away at it. We've got a great fullback room in terms of both the left side and the right side. And they've all been, talking to me and bringing me along and showing me moments and just kind of explaining it. And also just explaining their transition in the system too. So no, it's been, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but at the same time, it's been a really enjoyable experience. And as a player, you always want to learn. You want to see, the game through a different lens. And I'm definitely seeing that here.
I just wanted to let you hear that pretty lengthy answer from Johnston on the whole inverted fullback stuff, because I found that quite insightful. I think his press conference lasted nearly 20 minutes today, which is like unheard of for a player. It's usually just the Ange press conferences that last that long. And yeah, he's really good to listen to, Alistair Johnston, and no surprise to see that Celtic have him up doing media, as often as they can. He was doing it after the St Mirren game in midweek, and it was maybe just the accent, but he almost came across like a baseball or an NBA commentator, the way he was kind of mentioning certain players doing certain things. And it's just really kind of different to how Scottish players talk in the media. I think he's been a breath of fresh air both on and off the park so far. Mainly the Ange stuff I want to focus on, though, seeming to suggest that deals are close. I think he said progress has been made and he expects more progress to be made between now and the end of the window. Kept referencing the fact that the end of the window is coming up, so it's clear, he's obviously aware of that. And I felt like he kind of mentioned that Giakoumakis was probably going to leave the club. He didn't actually say that, but I think the sentence he used was, there's been progress with all of those kind of issues. And that was when answering a question specifically on Giakoumakis. So it seems like stuff is going on in the background there, and it seems very much like it's going to be Giakoumakis out and Hyeon-gyu in. So watch this space. In terms of tomorrow, team news, just to reiterate from Ange, Carter Vickers will not play, but no real issue there. Probably wouldn't have played anyway if he had been fit. Giakoumakis, maybe. He did train today. Ralston had a setback, so we'll miss the game, although it's nothing too serious. Ben Siegrist will also miss the game, but is back in training. So predicted 11-wise, and I should say that if I manage to get this 11 out of 11, every player correct, I am retiring from the channel, because it will never get any better than this. This is a tough one to predict. This is what I'm going with. Joe Hart in goal. I think if Siegrist had been fit, it would have been Siegrist, but obviously he's not. And Hart played, I think, all the cup games last season. So I'm going with Joe Hart. Johnston in at right back. Starfelt and Kobayashi in the middle, like in midweek. And Bernabe back in at left back. I think Ange pretty much confirmed that Bernabei would be back in the reckoning for this game after the game on Wednesday. Midfield, I'm giving Cal McGregor a rest, shock horror, going with Aaron Moy, Matt O'Reilly and Rayo Hatate, and then a front three of Liel Abada, Daisen Maeda up front and Sead Haksabanovic on the left. I mean, that is still not a bad team given that, you know, we've made God knows how many changes from the last match. Yeah, that's not going to be the team. There's going to definitely be bits I've got wrong there because it's pretty impossible to know what Ange is thinking when he's going to make changes for this. McGregor could play, for example, so who knows. Giakoumakis could play, one kind of the last dance for him, potentially. So yeah, enjoy the game. It's on Kunsel Telly, BBC One tomorrow. The game kicks off at 12:15 and we will have a reaction for you a little bit after full time. It'll be a little bit later tomorrow, probably like an hour after full time, because I'm actually in the media room at Celtic Park after the game chatting to Ange and a player. We'll then do the video. It'll be live, as I say, and I'll be at Celtic Park. John will join me on the video as well. So yeah, catch you then, everyone.